Hey, Barbie. Can I come to your house tonight?
Sure. I don't have anything big planned, just a giant blowout party with all the Barbies and planned choreography and a bespoke song. You should stop by.
So cool.
You can find me under the lights, diamonds under my eyes.
This is the best day ever.
It is the best day ever. So is yesterday, and so is tomorrow, and every day from now until forever. Do you guys ever think about dying?
When my heart breaks,
Some things have been happening that might be related.
when my world shakes.
Cold shower, falling off my roof, and my heels are on the ground. What do I have to do?
You have to go to the real world. You can go back to your regular life, or you can know the truth about the universe. The choice is now yours.
The first one, the high heel.
You have to want to know, okay? Do it again.
Closer I am fine. Closer I am fine.
I'm coming with you.
Okay.
Wow, this is the real world. What's going on? Why are these men looking at me?
Yeah, they're also staring at me.
Barbie in the real world. That's impossible.
If this got out, this could mean extremely weird things for our world. This would be catastrophic!
We haven't played with Barbie since we were like 5 years old. Oh.
No one rests until this doll is back in a box.
Even if nobody else sings along.
Humans only have one ending.
Get that Barbie!
Ideas live forever.
No, I won't let you do just one appendectomy,
But I'm a man.
but not a doctor.
Can I talk to a doctor?
You are talking to a doctor.
And I need a clicky pen?
No.
A sharp thing?
No.
There he is. Doctor!
Somebody get security.
This video is brought to you by Mubi. Get a whole month free at mubi.com/docinema. Maybe we're born too late to explore Earth, born too early to explore space, but born just in time to see the Barbie movie. Ladies and gentlemen, our time has come. 2 days ago, I attended the Barbie premiere where I got myself this goodie bag, and I gotta admit, the movie is pretty wild. Barbie and Oppenheimer are by far the most hyped movies of the year, and the last time there was such a spectacle was probably for the Minions or the Batman. And seeing as we prepared ourselves by watching every Ryan Gosling movie, it's finally time to talk about Barbie and Ken. So without spoiling it, let's discuss why Barbie deserves all the hype.
So cool.
Let's start with the cast. One of the reasons it became such a hype in the first place, and probably the only reason I wanted to watch it. Seeing as I'm a 22-year-old man who never played with Barbies but still wanted to see this movie, they must have done something right.
Girls? I want to see men!
This movie manages to capture so many different audiences. You got your average Barbie enjoyers, the LGBTQ community, and then you have the literally me drive enthusiasts who came here for Ryan Gosling.
A drive?
All watching this movie together in the cinema. It's poetic. And this is all thanks to Greta Gerwig. This is only her third time directing a movie solo by herself after making Lady Bird and Little Women, which were both nominated for an Oscar. However, she has acted in many movies, wrote scripts, and worked with her husband Noah Baumbach to realize many films. She is of course a real film buff, and therefore drew a lot of inspiration from a variety of movies in order to create Barbie, mixing elements from musicals like Grease to comedies like Playtime and psychological dramas such as The Truman Show. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Margot Robbie and of course our man Ryan Gosling. Both actors have had quite the career, but their paths never really crossed except for a small sequence in The Big Short. However, when they were young, they both made some interesting career decisions.
They once made me wear like a giant cigarette suit.
I'll make you sick, and I'll make you stink, and I'll guarantee that no one ever wants to kiss you. Yeah, wanna be my friend?
It was the most embarrassing thing. Anyways, yeah.
And Ryan joining the Mickey Mouse Club.
You gotta give me that pie.
Throughout her career, Margot has starred in some amazing memorable movies, from working with legendary directors such as Martin Scorsese for The Wolf of Wall Street to playing in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and more recently in Damien Chazelle's Babylon. Growing up in the Australian outback, she really grew up as a tomboy while also cementing herself in Hollywood as a 10 out of 10 actress with an edge.
You're amazing, and I'm so excited for you.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
incredible that you've gotten as far as you have with your obvious physical disadvantages.
Just like a real Barbie, she showed her obsession with beauty in the American Psycho-inspired commercial. She played a smart, ambitious, blonde power woman in the movie Bombshell, and she already had some practice skating in her movie I, Tonya, telling the story of an American figure skater whose career comes crashing down after a scandal. It's safe to say she was meant to play Barbie. Now, I'm not kidding when I say Ryan Gosling was literally born to play Ken. Being a member of the Mickey Mouse Club when he was a kid, he always loved to sing, dance, and perform. And this man got some serious moves. Over the years, he has proven himself to be a real woman magnet, releasing his inner Kenergy in movies like The Notebook, Crazy Stupid Love, and La La Land. But behind this Ken also lies another side, the lonely Sigma, seen in movies like Blade Runner 2049, Drive, and Place Beyond the Pines. You know, most of the time the conversation is only about Barbie, and Ken sort of silently disappears in the background.
At the time they were shut up!
But boy, is that gonna change. Now, when we think of Barbie and Ken, we think of these two people, but there are actually many other Barbies and Kens. There are currently 175 different Barbie dolls with different skin tones, body shapes, and hair types, and Greta Gerwig wanted all of it. In Barbieland, women have all the power. They are presidents, Nobel Prize winners, road workers, and men are literally just chilling on the beach. I know what you're thinking. Another feminist propaganda movie. Yes, but not entirely. Even though the Kens are basically like fashion accessories, constantly fighting over who gets the women and beaching each other off, our man Ryan Gosling is gonna go on a quest to change that power dynamic and become a real man. Some other cast members include Will Ferrell, who is also generally a goofy guy in all of his movies, this time playing the CEO of Mattel, who created all the Barbie toys.
Let's bring out my guest who has some more stuff to slice. Ryan?
Then we have Emma Mackey, who is often confused with being Margot Robbie.
Sort of like a running joke now that, you know, have Margot Robbie and Emma Mackey been seen in the same room? Not sure.
Not to forget Simu Liu from The Legend of Shang-Chi, playing another Ken rivaling against Ryan Gosling. Michael Cera from Scott Pilgrim in the World, playing the femboy of Ken. And last but not least, we also got two cameos of Dua Lipa and John Cena as mermaids.
Are you sure about that?
Let's talk a bit about the Barbie world itself, because the set design, marketing and music all work in perfect harmony with each other. It always amazes me how these set designers work their magic. To quote Greta Gerwig, everything needed to be tactile, because toys are, above all, things you touch.
You know, miniatures and compositing it so it doesn't feel synthetic. It feels like it's real, it's there.
There's an interesting paradox in that, striving for realism by making things unreal. Instead of using a green screen with a CGI sky, they used hand-painted backdrops with mountains that could switch between day and night. The scale of the set pieces are not entirely lifelike either. The car is just a little too small for Barbie, the windshield comes up to her chest, the fridge is partially in 2D, there's no water nor fire, and it's all just a bit quirky. Same goes for their acting style, because Ken has this artificial ha 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 laugh, and people can split their legs like dolls, and Barbie doesn't really have any second thoughts or hesitation whatsoever when she speaks, just like a real doll. However, when they later enter the real world, things are starting to change. Me being Ken, I also was kind enough to give them the keys to my newly built dream house in Malibu so that people can have a look and book a stay. The marketing even extended to the Primark, which was filled with Barbie merch, and even went as far as people stealing billboards with Ryan Gosling on it. Someone DM'd me the other day saying that they stole one.
I have plans that I cannot share with you right now because the haters will sabotage me. I have plans.
When it comes to the soundtrack and aesthetic, the movie creates an interesting pastiche between the old and the new. On the one hand, it feels very retro, with the disco vibe and costumes of the 80s and the bright neon colors and rollerblades of the 90s. But it also has many modern elements of the 2000s, like mobile phones, modern artists, and memes, targeting a wide audience that grew up in these times. By getting all these big names on the soundtrack like Dua Lipa, Tame Impala, Billie Eilish, Nicki Minaj, and Ice Spice, Gerwig creates a pop cultural hit in order to attract a larger audience.
To be like a movie with just an amazing soundtrack. And I thought Saturday Night Fever obviously has this incredible soundtrack by the Bee Gees. And I will say this about disco, as a lover of disco, Barbie and disco, little bit dorky in the best way. It had that quality, and so Saturday Night Fever was like a kind of a movie that was driven by music, but not a musical.
But Ryan Gosling singing his heart out about how he's just Ken is just me.
I get it.
The most important question to ask is, what's it like in terms of story? In case you didn't know, there are a measly 42 animated Barbie movies in existence today, and this guy decided to watch them all. Maybe somebody should check up on him. Unlike all the other Barbie movies, this one actually adds substance and layers to the narrative. So without spoiling it, let me sketch the situation for you. It's kinda like The Matrix and The Truman Show meets Legally Blonde. Every protagonist must go on a hero's journey, and stereotypical Barbie is no exception. Barbie lives in a perfectly fake, color-saturated world, and despite all the quirky and physical limitations, life is good. However, one day she wakes up and things start to feel off. Her feet are no longer arched, the shower is freezing cold, and then a simple negative thought slips into her mind while dancing, and it's all of a sudden like she became self-aware, like a human. According to the Barbie standard, she is malfunctioning, and just like in the Truman Show, we start to get a sense that there is more than this simulation. And this is where the journey starts. She goes on a quest to meet Weird Barbie, like Neo visiting Morpheus in the Matrix to awaken and enter the real world, in order to become quote-unquote normal again. But what is normal to her is not considered normal in the real world. And this is where things start to get complicated, more layered, and maybe even a bit emotional. Ken has a journey in front of him as well. In the beginning of the movie, nobody really thinks or cares about Ken. Ken doesn't have a house, or a car, or a job, or any power. But when he enters the real world, he sees that it is mainly run by men. While Barbie is like a fish out of water in the real world, Ken starts to gain more power and wants to bring this hierarchy back to the female-run Barbie land. Ken vaguely reminds me of this midnight cowboy type character, about a man from Texas convinced of his irresistible appeal to women, who heads to New York City where he thinks he'll just hang around rich women, but then needs to hustle and find his true self. Instead, Ken starts taking on traits of misogyny and brings hypermasculinity back to Barbie land and actually becomes somewhat of a G, teaching his newfound ideology to the other Kens. We see Ken wearing the same clothes one would expect a bad guy in a campy kids film would wear, and one could argue he becomes somewhat of a villain. Barbie and Ken suddenly become this analogy of us humans. Characters start off as a somewhat blank and harmless canvas, but as soon as we get older and venture into the real world, we start transitioning from our innocent childlike Barbie land to the more realistic gender roles in the real world. We all know Barbie became a household brand of hyper-femininity and unrealistic beauty standards, and Barbie in this movie is an analogy or caricature of what women might actually face these days. With high beauty standards caused by the media, if Barbie is not pretty and nobody likes her, is it still worth living? Never thought I would say this, but Barbie is having an existential crisis. She basically goes on a quest to love herself again, to find out what it means to be a woman. And the same goes for Ken. What would Ken be without Barbie? Just Ken? What does it even mean to be a man? Does it mean to be super buffed and a Chad? It might sound cringe and all, but this movie manages to avoid the pitfalls quite well. How? Well, exactly by using cringe as a tool. The movie is very self-aware and most of the time intentionally silly, poking fun at the silliness of hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity in a joyful and very creative way. All while telling a reasonably accurate message: to be yourself. And that is enough.
I think the best thing to do is just be yourself, just be out there, smile at everybody, and don't try to be too cool, but don't try to be, too happy, just be yourself.
Once in a while the stars align, and a movie comes out that perfectly describes its day and age and becomes part of popular culture. Barbie is one of those movies. The majority will see the movie as one big me, and even though I agree, you know what they say, there's a grain of truth behind every joke. And the fact that it officially came out on the same day as Oppenheimer, a story about the creator of the atomic bomb and destroyer of worlds, just perfectly shows the duality of man. And that is why I think Barbie deserves the hype. Now, if you want to prepare yourself for the Barbie movie or just can't get enough of Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie, I got you. Because Only God Forgives, I, Tonya, Drive, Half Nelson, and Blue Valentine are currently streaming on Mubi. Not only in my country, the Netherlands, but in many other countries. Mubi is a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema, a place to discover ambitious new films and singular voices, from iconic directors to emerging auteurs. And the best thing is that they are all carefully handpicked by Mubi curators, streaming anytime, anywhere.
I work anytime, anywhere.
We work Jewish holidays?
anytime, anywhere.
You can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/docinema. That's mubi.com/docinema for an entire month of great cinema for free.